Ryan was a food delivery guy who worked for a popular app. He enjoyed his job as he got to ride his bike around the city and earn some extra cash. He didn't mind the long hours or the occasional rude customer. He was happy as long as he got his tips. One night, he received an order from a new restaurant. It was called The Hungry Ghost, and it claimed to serve authentic Asian cuisine. Ryan had never heard of it before, but he accepted the order anyway. He checked the address and saw that it was in a remote part of town, near an abandoned factory. He shrugged and got on his bike. He arrived at the restaurant after a 20-minute ride. It was a small, dimly lit place with a sign that read The Hungry Ghost in red letters. Ryan walked in and saw a man behind the counter. He was wearing a chef's hat and a mask that covered his mouth and nose. He looked at Ryan with a pair of dark, piercing eyes. "Are you the delivery guy?" he asked in a raspy voice. "Yes, I'm here to pick up an order for John Smith," Ryan said. The man nodded and handed him a paper bag. "Here you go. The food is ready. Be careful, it's hot." Ryan took the bag and thanked him. He looked inside and saw a container of noodles, a box of dumplings, and a bottle of sauce. He smelled a strange aroma, but he didn't think much of it. He checked the app and saw that the customer's address was not far from the restaurant. He got back on his bike and headed to the destination. He reached the address and saw that it was a rundown apartment building. He parked his bike and looked for the apartment number. He found it on the 3rd floor. He knocked on the door and waited. No one answered. He knocked again, louder. Still no response. He checked the app and saw that the customer had paid online and left a note. "Leave the food at the door. Thanks." Ryan shrugged and did as instructed. He placed the bag on the floor and took a picture of it. He sent it to the customer and marked the order as completed. He turned to leave, but then he heard a noise. It sounded like someone was opening the door. He looked back and saw a man standing in the doorway. He was wearing a bathrobe and slippers. He had a pale, gaunt face and a bandage wrapped around his head. He looked at Ryan with a pair of dull, lifeless eyes. "Hey, are you John Smith?" Ryan asked. The man nodded slowly. "I just delivered your food." "It's right here," Ryan said, pointing at the bag. The man nodded again. He reached for the bag and grabbed it. He opened it and took out the container of noodles. He opened it and stared at it. He sniffed it and smiled. He took a fork and started to eat. He ate with gusto, slurping and chewing loudly. He didn't seem to notice Ryan, who was watching him with a mix of curiosity and disgust. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. He decided to leave. He said goodbye to the man, but he didn't reply. He just kept eating. Ryan walked away, feeling uneasy. He got on his bike and rode away. He tried to forget what he had seen. The next day, Ryan received another order from the same restaurant. He accepted it without hesitation. He didn't know that it was his last delivery. He didn't know that the food he had delivered was not ordinary food. It was human flesh. The chef at the restaurant was a serial killer who preyed on unsuspecting victims. He used the app to lure them to his place, where he killed them and cooked them. He then used the app to deliver the food to his customers, who were also his accomplices. They were part of a cult that believed that eating human flesh would grant them eternal life. They had a list of names and addresses of people they wanted to eat. Ryan was one of them.